everybody, and welcome to this year's inaugural episode of World Premiere Wednesdays. Through the turbulent tunnel of planetary transformation that was 2020, London Sinfonietta has managed to keep on smashing out its incredible online series of solo performances of new music, brought to you live by its kicking principal players, continuing to do what the ensemble has always set out to do: commission and perform new works from some of our best living composers, bringing new music to new audiences. Today, to help offset some of the seismic global wobbles of 2021, virtuoso cellist Tim Gill will be giving world premieres of music by Oliver Leith and Danish composer Anders Nordentoft. All three are lurking right now in the backstage Zoom green room, and they're going to be chatting about the music in just a moment. And first, for you lot at home, there is a live chat on this YouTube channel. Do please send in your preferably constructive comments and questions throughout the show. There's going to be a little Q&A moment where you can get to ask our performer and our composers about the music that you've heard. Now, just before we kick off, you should know that London Sinfonietta is super grateful for the continuing investment of the Arts Council, which underpins so much of what it does, also to the trusts, sponsors and individuals that support its work. And thanks in particular to the fabulous Carol O'Brien and Robert Torday for supporting Ollie Leith's new piece. Now, while normal concert giving is still suspended, London Sinfonietta's events are being presented online for free. How fabulous is that? So that as many of you lot at home can experience this wonderful new music. And so the ensemble is seeking support to offer more work opportunities for players and composers during this insane time that we're living through. Now, if you're enjoying the live streams, do please consider donating at whatever level you can afford. It could be the price of a cup of coffee, price of a concert ticket, price of a cello. That would be nice. And if you feel you can, all donations so gratefully received. You can just pop to the London Sinfonietta website, londonsinfonietta.org.uk, to find out how to do this. And also, while you're there, check out all the fantastic stuff that's on there. There's a digital channel, podcasts, performances, what's on, and you can get involved in London Sinfonietta events. Now, the last bit of pre-show admin: share the love, hit the subscription button and a like if you like. Okay, so it is time to welcome to the stage today, unmute yourselves, Tim Gill, Anders Nordentoft and Oliver Leith. Welcome everybody, how wonderful to see you. Anders, first of all, tell us, where are you?
I'm in Copenhagen.
And
I'm in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I'm in Nørrebro. That's the northern side of Copenhagen. Yes,
and we were
in my apartment.
We were just chatting backstage that Nordentoft, I remember, in Copenhagen has the best coffee in the world. But
oh yes, absolutely. I'm sure, so they say.
And how is it?
I was having a discussion with my daughter actually about, because we were fans of Nordic noir, about how to pronounce Copenhagen. I'm not sure I got it right, but is it Copenhagen?
Copenhagen.
Oh, so, right, I got it completely.
Copenhagen, that's Swedish.
Okay, all right.
Also, Tim, Schopenhauer, he's a philosopher, right? So
yeah, that's getting confusing.
Anyway, Anders, thank you so much for joining us today. It's wonderful to have you here. Ollie, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Irish style, I see you've got your tea, and backstage you also told me that Irish people always want to pronounce their full names, right? That's the thing.
Well, that's what my parents told me, yeah. Well, it's just a writing down thing. People always think I'm being passive aggressive whenever I sign it off with my full name, but I've never written down my shortened name. That's just it.
And this whole lockdown business, I mean, have you found that this is a bigger question, but does it actually honestly make any difference to you in terms of writing? Is the composer's natural state total lockdown, or?
I'm probably exactly where I would be had there not been lockdown. Yeah, it's the evenings which are different. No pubs. That's it.
No pubs. Same for you, Anders, I guess. The composer's natural state is,
Yeah.
to an extent.
Yeah.
Tim, there you are. You're in Welwyn Garden City, I believe.
I am, yeah. It's so glamorous.
With a household full of cellists who I guess you've just told right now to be quiet.
Yeah, yeah. I hope you don't hear any practice going on, but I'll tell them to shut up if you do.
Fantastic. Okay, so Tim, I'm going to hand over to you because we're going to start off today's show with a brand new piece by Ollie. So before you play it, perhaps you'd just like to ask Ollie a little bit about it.
Sure, yeah. It's always an exciting moment when a new Lockdown Live piece tumbles through the electronic letterbox, because you never quite know what to expect. And in fact, I've played quite a few of Ollie's pieces before. And there are some sort of recurring themes in this, I would say. I'm not going to say too much about it because I'm going to let Ollie say something about it. But it's, I suppose, would you describe it as a sort of lockdown-inspired piece, Ollie? I think it probably is, right?
I mean, probably accidentally. It's very much not explicit in it, but there's probably, yeah, I mean, the title is Cheer Up, Doomroll. I think this propensity for being quite gloomy, at times how sad my music normally is quite a lot. So it's called Cheer Up, Doomroll. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a rather wonderful little interlude in the middle of this. I should say it's quite a sort of I guess you might call it a sort of simple piece in a way. It consists of a phrase which is repeated and then slightly blurred as Ollie asked me to sort of slightly sharpen one of the notes so it becomes slightly out of tune. And then there's this rather lovely middle section where I just go off on a sort of flight of fancy, which is sort of totally unlike anything else in the piece. And I think it's really beautiful, actually. And then a very haunting final section, which consists of sort of quite widely spaced chords on the cello, which is really very, very beautiful and sort of sad, I think. There is sadness there, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. There's a small wink at the end, you'll see.
Yeah, there is a wink at the end. Anyway, without further ado, I think I should play it, and then maybe we can talk again.
So this is Cheer Up Doomroll by Oliver Leith with the wonderful Tim Gill to play. Fantastic. Many congratulations. Beautifully played, Tim. Thank you so much. And I just point out now, that is not easy. That was, Tim, thank you so much. Ollie, at this point, could you read us, if you've got it in front of you, and if you haven't, I will. Could you just read us what that last gesture is about? Because I think I think this is a very cool bit of information.
I'll explain it as well a little bit. Like a moment where you've been staring intently and intensely at yourself in the mirror, maybe after a drink, and you clock how silly or bleak that is and smile or something. Yeah.
I have to say, Tim, I think you captured, just you at home, we're talking about the very, very last gesture. And so this notion of, I somehow feel this is a key to a lot of your music, Ollie, because it's this notion, you're looking at yourself and you're exploring an interior state, but suddenly you're changing into a completely different point of view, a different perspective.
Yeah.
And for me, in your music, that's reflected not just in these odd moments of humour, but it's also something much deeper than that. There's something quite trippy and trance-like in this. I always feel that, particularly with these shifting temperament, the microtonality, I mean, you can tell me if I'm on track or not, but it feels to me like the microtonality is a shifting of a perception of a state. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I do, like pushing something very heavy or something. Yeah, it's a slow movement. Yeah.
And in that way, this is something that I've been doing a lot of Ollie Leith listening recently, and it comes with a warning because my it just caused my whole computer screen to freeze yesterday. Clearly, and could you tell us a little bit more about how that relates? I mean, clearly this is cheer up doomroll. It's referring to now, right?
I mean, me now, yeah, something like that. I would probably presume it's sort of about being overindulgent in sadness, and me, it's like sort of doing that on the piano and then being like, for God's sake, right, it's fine. And then smiling, it's fine. And a lot of my music's like that. I think it's because I can't write happy music. So, well, yeah, I can't. So
but you've tried with that last gesture. You've tried.
I've tried. Yeah, I've tried. But it's more. It's just. It's like joking about. It's just. It's joking. Yeah.
But also, that little middle section is kind of.
Yeah, that's a distraction. That's a nice thing. Yeah.
Just sort of flit away on something. Yeah.
By the way, just before I ask Anders his response to that piece, you've got lots of applause emojis, Ollie, from
great.
the fabulous Robin Hay. Hi, Robin. Fantastic you're on here. From Evangeline Fordham, lots of applause here. From Rob. We don't know which Rob it is, but thank you so much. And big bravos to Tim for that incredible performance.
Yes, thank you.
Anders, listening to this reminds me a little bit about some of the aesthetic that I picked up when I was in Denmark, funnily enough, which does this ring a bell, this sort of introspection?
Absolutely. It's noir. It's melancholia. It's that's a very Nordic thing, I think. And to write sad music, yes, but also that it contains beauty, in its own way. I think melancholy is, yes, I understand that you recognize it, and you can think back on Denmark and then the Nordic countries and relate to this music and the Nordic. Yes.
There's also a sense that, Ollie, in this piece, you're really using this resonance of the cello these open strings, which Tim just plays so beautifully in these different timbres. So you have what's essentially a kind of harmonic series approach, lots of open fourths and fifths. And the ending is, you try to bring light with a lovely smiling G major 10th. But all the time, the instinct is to also go against it. Does that feel?
Yeah, well, it's as you said, like, it's difficult. There's this trying to do those things at the same time and get them to speak at the same time automatically has this like strangling effect, I guess, on the child. It's like very hard to get them to speak, but it's a nice sound. As you say, it's like two worlds. Yeah.
Tim, can you just show our non-string playing people, when you're playing high up on the G and you're doing these double stops, 2 strings at once, there's a technical conflict there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, because
timbral conflict,
yeah,
I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're aiming at, Zoe, and I'm not quite sure how to kind of say it, but basically, when you're playing high on a string, like here, which I have to do just at the end there, you have to play with the bow a little bit nearer to the bridge. But when you're playing an open string with it, you have to play a little bit further away from the bridge. So to get them both to speak is a sort of challenge there, I suppose. But in fact, Ollie asks for the lower notes to be, the open string to be a little bit ponticello, which actually helps.
And just show us, for non-string playing people, just show us what that does to the sound.
Sound would be, and then if you play nearer to right on the bridge, you get those high harmonics with and not so much of the fundamental pitch. Yeah. So together you get a kind of slightly fragile sound, I suppose, which is, I hope, what you were aiming for. I felt quite fragile anyway.
It's great.
So Ollie, in this doom roll world of melancholia, which Anders so beautifully described, having this sort of fragility in the very voice of resonance is something that, it feels very much on point with the introspection of the piece. This kind of
That's a good impression. Some things are easier to act out, But yeah, that's how I would probably do it.
And you just, Anders.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of soul in your music. I really like that.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of soul, yes, and it's yes, and I get a lot of images of the Middle Ages or something like that.
Oh, good, even better.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
From the but in a good way, in a very I don't know the word in English. Men, it's suggestive, like
suggestive.
Yeah, suggestive. Yes, I guess that's the word. Yes, suggestive.
I don't think that's the word.
No, suggestive.
No, it's got more. I think I know what you're after. So there's something.
It's hypnotizing, but that's too much.
Mesmeric.
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
Mesmerizing.
Yes, mesmerizing.
Yeah.
I heard.
Well, I love to see you now as a troubadour, Ollie. I think that's going to stick in my mind. So with that image, hang on, we've got some YouTube comments. Look, I'm looking on my phone. Everybody, phone. Okay, YouTube comments. We've got loads. Robert Laidlow, it's you. He says this, Rob. Okay, fantastic. Hello. We've got fab as always, Ollie from Knapsterino. I love YouTube handles. Lawrence Dunn, hi all, thanks so much. Hello, Lawrence. Rose Dodd, this is such a lovely lunchtime concert event with all the chatting. It's so personal. Rose, wonderful, thank you. And Francis Bryant, fantastic to get these insights as a non-string playing person. Thanks, Ollie and Tim. Brilliant, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I think it's time. I'm just desperate to hear this next piece by Anders. Nordentoft, and perhaps I'm going to hand over to Tim, who I know has got some questions for Anders. I'm loving the lockdown smoke going over the screen, Anders. Love it. We should all have it right now. I'm jealous. So this is a piece that is called The Heron. So Tim, I know you've got some questions for Anders.
Well, I wondered, I mean, I know that you wrote this piece for Zoe, I think I'm correct in saying that, but I wondered if there was something about the cello and the range of the cello that you felt was particularly well suited to depicting a heron.
Yes, I've written. I have something about the cello and its shape and its size. You know, I have a piece called Cathedral, because I mean it's in a way, you know, you can see it as a very huge instrument, a very like a cathedral in some way. And this heron, it has such a wide range, the cello, so I can have these very, very high notes, and you know, the heron is majestic in one way, but it's also a little funny animal, a fantastic creature, because when it moves, it stands still, and then it's majestic. When it flies, it's majestic. But then when it moves, you know, it reveals a funny character in a way. So in the end of the piece, yeah.
No, I was going to say that there's a kind of awkwardness about how the heron moves, isn't there? Which I think you capture really brilliantly in this piece, you know. And then at the same time, that's sort of contrasted with this sort of nobility of the.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that we cellists
two
relate to. The awkwardness is trying to carry the cello around, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about with this piece, but I think we should hear it first, and then you can tell us more, and I'm sure our audience at home has got some questions as well. So this is the world premiere of The Heron by Anders Nordentoft. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Tim Gill playing there, The Heron by Anders Nordentoft. What a beautiful piece of music. Anders, so...
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Fantastic. Yeah, very well done. Yeah.
Many, many congratulations. What's it like hearing a premiere of your music in this situation?
It's quite nice when it's played in that way. Yes, it's never tried it before, of course, but I have to fall down, you know, a little bit because my heart is beating very fast.
And so it should. It's such a beautiful piece.
Yeah, I think there's
it's going to work so well in a hall as well. I think, you know.
Yes.
That actually strikes me about both of these, and it's striking. That's the sort of loss that I feel at the moment. You know, that we just can't play in concerts.
No.
And,
No.
All these pieces. I mean, it's wonderful to do it online, but they all somehow come alive even more when you're in a sort of rarefied space of playing in a concert, in a real live concert. So hope they come back soon.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is that we can all hear the resonance that both of these pieces are implying. I feel like I'm supplying what it needs because there's a perspective and a dimension that is present that we can't hear in this context but is nevertheless implied. So Anders, your affinity with string playing, you clearly know your way so well around the strings. Now you were a violinist.
Yes, I was. I went to the conservatory in Copenhagen for 6 years or something like that and practiced on the violin 5 hours a day, you know. And then I played in some orchestras, but I composed as well. But then it took over with the composition, and I had to stop the safe life. I mean, if I had been in an orchestra, it would be more easy. I had some troublesome years, but now I'm fine. Yes, I left the violin, the string playing.
Now in this piece, I know because we were talking a little bit earlier backstage, and you were saying there's a point in this music where your Heron or Heron, did I get that right?
Heron.
Heron in Danish, takes off.
Yes.
And there's a clear moment implied towards the end of the piece. Were you thinking of that consciously?
No, I was not. That's afterwards. But you see, it's a field of associations. There's not yes, a field of associations with this bird. You know, there is in the middle of Copenhagen, in the center of Copenhagen, there is a park, and there was a colony of Herons in the middle of the town, I saw these birds, and I was very interested in them, the way they moved, and then I found some music in it. You know, I could connect with a piece. So yes.
I have to just give a little bit of backstory here, just because, Anders, I met you about 5 years ago or something now. I know this is bad form for the host to talk about this, but it's a backstory for this piece. So it was a point when I was doing a residency in Copenhagen as Danish International Visiting Artist, which the acronym is DIVA, which I've always thought was the best residency. But I had the good fortune to meet you because I'd been playing your beautiful piece, Cathedral. Any cellists out there should really look at these pieces. And then from that point, you wrote me a wonderful piece, Impetuoso. So if you're interested in hearing that piece, you can look that up, Impetuoso and as Nordentoft, it's all up there. And then suddenly, after playing that piece many times, this piece suddenly arrived. And I couldn't bear that your Heron had not been allowed to fly. So thanks to COVID, but also thanks to a shoulder injury, actually, your Heron has been in more than safe hands with Tim. And this is demanding technically, this piece, right? It's got its...
Yeah, it is actually. But it's so kind of imaginative, you know, and the ideas are so clear that somehow the technique kind of fades away into the background, you know. It's a very kind of felt piece, I think, you know, and it's those are always easier to sort of cope with, I think, you know.
Ollie, you've been patiently waiting there in the background. Any thoughts?
I've been enjoying it, yeah. Well, I was just thinking about what you were saying about it being a shame that it's not in a hall or whatever, and you know, the resonances of it. I was thinking, actually, it's strange that piece in particular, and just as Anders said, just because the cello is like a little cathedral, it's sort of like the best instrument for these things because it uses the room and its own body, you know, and it works so well. That little double stop bit, Anders, I love that so much.
I think I just have to show you my this picture, which is actually on the profile picture. This is the cathedral you're talking about. Look. Whoa!
That's amazing.
That was cooler. Hang on. Oh, I think we've got some comments on YouTube. Yeah, big thank you again to Carol and Robert for supporting Ollie's piece. That's just come through. Robert Torday is just... Oh, yeah, there you are, Robert Torday. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ollie and Tim. Thank you, Anders. Oh yes, here we go. So much drama, Anders, so many moods in such a short time span. Natalie's bravo, Tim and Anders, and Lawrence Dunn. Really hope Tim gets to play it again in a space with better acoustics. So yeah, I think we're all in this same boat. Anders, anything more that you would like to say about this? Because this is a piece that you've written, you wrote that for fun rather than for a deadline. And do you feel that this frees you as an artist when you can just write what you want to?
Yes, I only, for the last many years, I've only written commissions, but this is an exception. I wrote it very fast, I must say, because well, the story is that you had this concert and there was only 3 days or a week or something like that, and I just wrote very fast. And normally I lay on the couch for 3 months, and then in 1 week I write a piece. I've done that many times. I think about it and prepare myself, you know, mentally and physically to here we go. And then I work for many hours and so. But well, I've had some good years since we met. Actually, I stopped composing for some years. And then when I met you, I started to compose again. And during the last 5 years, I've composed so much music. Suddenly, I have the opposite of a writer's block. So I don't know what's that called. So I write a lot of music suddenly. Yeah, it's.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear.
Yes.
Wonderful. Ollie, I've got a question for you. So your sponsors, Robert and Carol, have said thank you. What fun that they've had hearing their piece. And Ollie, this is going back to your piece. They've wondered if you had Frère Jacques in mind when composing the opening sequence. Carol and Robert.
Yeah, of course it is. Well, I mean, it's also the most common line and melody ever. But let's say yes for fun.
Yeah.
Yes for fun.
And also, yeah, I suppose there's Frère Jacques. I always associate with a round. Yeah, you can see it on the chat. I always associate Frère Jacques with a round that will go on and on and on and on. So it seems to fit very well with the cheer up doom roll aspect of things.
So yeah, a very repetitive and slightly wayward tuning Frère Jacques. Yeah.
Ollie, do you ever write stuff just for fun, or have you got too many sort of deadlines to have that luxury?
I have too many rent payments and things to do that, really. I haven't done that for ages. No.
Yeah, it's.
But I find it the same thing anyway. It's just that I feel quite free in the commissions anyway. So and I need structure and deadlines, or I would, as Anders said, sit on the sofa, but I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't spring up after 3 weeks. I would do.
Yeah. So for you, composition isn't this gestation period on the sofa. You just you have to do it.
That's it.
We've got yes, Ollie. Another question for you. For us oldies, would it be correct to say that you were more Feldman than Boulez?
Interesting. Well, yeah, I guess in how many notes there is. Yeah. And also I enjoy Feldman more than Boulez. So, well, a lot.
And Anders.
I'm very. Yeah. When I went to the conservatory, I didn't hear much about Rachmaninoff and Prokofiev and Shostakovich, and everything was about Boulez and Stockhausen. And then later in my life, it has been such a thrill for me to experience these composers, and also Scriabin.
Scriabin.
Oh! Yes. And many Bartok, and so there was well, it's a long story, but I'm so happy that I feel really in contact with these composers, and it's a new thing for me. In the conservatory, as it was only the hard modernist people, but yeah.
And a final question for Tim, who's played so beautifully today before we sign off for the day. Tim, obviously you've spent many years now playing first performances of pieces as they come into the world. And do you find that changes your approach to the traditional repertoire that you play? Because I know that you play music of all ages. Do you find that it helps, or do you have to put them in different categories?
Yes, that's a difficult and complex question, Zoe.
I know, just to do the last one.
I don't know. I mean, I think each experience is different, really, with first performances. And sometimes there have been times when I've worked quite closely with composers during the period that they're writing it, which again is a very different sort of role, I suppose. I'm sure you've done this many times too. And I think I kind of enjoy both things. I love sort of having the new finished article through the post and everything, and it's yeah, does it affect how I play other music? Yes, I think it does, I suppose, you know, because you're when you're approaching something for the first time, you know that you're sort of, nobody's heard this before, you know, it's you're kind of creating it, and maybe that's not such a bad way to approach, you know, more standard music too, you know, just to sort of to have that kind of courage to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do with this piece, because there are no kind of there are no limitations of expectation, should we say, within.
Excellent answer. Thank you so much. Which brings us to the end of today's episode of World Premiere Wednesdays. I love this title in the Lockdown Live series. Thank you so much to Anders Nordentoft, to Oliver Leith for their beautiful music, and to Tim Gill for playing it so marvellously. And to you lot at home, thank you so much for tuning in. It really means so much that you're there, and we're keeping the flame of music burning somehow, even if it's in this bizarre format. So you need to tune in next Wednesday, because there's a really fantastic thing happening. So it's February the 3rd, 7 o'clock UK time. And this is going to be the premiere streaming of Sinfonietta's concert film. It was shot behind closed doors in October last year, of Scottish composer James Dillon's amazing piece, Pharmakia. And it's the complete 4-movement cycle. It began back in 2017 with his work Circe, which was commissioned in celebration of his 70th birthday. And in this extraordinary and powerful work, Dillon has Circe, the Greek goddess of magic, you might know, lead us on a mysterious, otherworldly journey, saturated with transmutation, illusion, and necromancy. And if that's not a description of current times, I don't know what is. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time.
Bye.